Good evening, everyone, and we are finally back. It has been, it feels like almost 2 months since we have run a race here in Zoom Racing League. The odd release of F124 and everyone's hesitancy with the game definitely has delayed us quite a bit, but we are finally going, finally back on track. And for today, we are bringing you our Division 1 with full qualifying here at um, the Canadian Grand Prix. I actually can't think of the circuit name off the top of my head. At the same time, I don't know if I would even want to try to pronounce it. So here we are, a little bit of a few new faces here with us. We are, but at the same time, a lot of old new faces. Some people that have not raced in D1 in a while. People like Alpine's team principal here, Ethan Patel, showing his technical speed. You'll have to see about how to change these EA names for our broadcast. Hopefully the quality is looking okay. This is my first time doing a stream with this game. Interesting sounds. They're not a little bit of real sounds. Anyone who's actually been to a race knows that these cars sound quite a bit different than they do when you're watching an onboard camera. It doesn't like this actual dynamic audio. It looks like it's just playing the audio, just some audio clip. But yeah, moving through our grid here, a couple of people here from Division 2. We have Chubb Tucker in the Ferrari. Now in Division 1 here, we have Justin Schreier, who actually just told me how to pronounce that right before the race. So Justin Schreier, it's Schrei, now in Division 1, very competitive with Ranger for the Division 2 championship last season, just off by just a few points. I didn't have time to make a graphic. I'll have one up for us at some point this season so I can just show. We are running a new point system. It is in our Discord. So a race winner will score 23 points compared to 35 in order to make every point have more value. So hopefully that... and I can keep championship battles a little bit more competitive and make missing a race a little bit more detrimental to your season overall. It does seem like we continue to have champions who miss races and still win the championship. So it is not... So the idea is to kind of hopefully... we'll see if that actually has an effect. I haven't actually run math on that to see if people miss what kind of percentage of points, potential points they would actually lose by doing that. It may not actually make that much of a difference. But as we move on here, we have Marcel, who has shown to be our paciest driver. This season, we started things a little bit differently. Our signups included a pace test, so we copied Contest of Speed, who runs during the weekdays. Check them out, guys, if you want some weekday action. They have a 25% race as their pace test, so we generally compared overall race time over an 11-lap race with the same exact strategy at Spa. Now, Chubb Tucker here with a 10.8. So pole here we expect to be something, but will likely be really close to 7, if not into a 7 when we get into Q3. Remember, we are in full qualifying, so this is the first session. So we will have 4 people not advancing. See here, I saw Ethan get booted out of the session. Let me see if I can't invite him back. A lot of screen tearing going on with this. That is very strange. Oh, damn. Hop on board here with Try, actually invalidates on his shows. Having a little bit of struggle there as he goes into Sector 2. Actually, one thing I probably haven't even done yet, that I'm sitting here wondering why my telemetry is not working. This'll do it. You know, one thing we also did not do is actually send out a note to have everyone turn it on. So this is actually the who actually has their telemetry on. we'll get that sorted out. We'll get that sorted out for our next race. So along with new drivers in Division 1, we have some new teams. Well, I guess they're not technically new teams, but new brands for old teams. So Sauber is now, what are they called? Kick Stake Sauber F1 or something. I don't know. We're calling them Kick Sauber for now. So in this disgusting black and green car. Still headed up by Ahmed Abdullahi. So he is still their team principal, but he will be racing in Division 2 with us this season. Back filling in for his driver. In D1 today, we actually do have here our reigning two-time champion here in our he's reserving for Williams today. Ryan Newton has actually decided to race with us tonight after deciding to not take a full-time seat at the start of the season. So we'll be interesting to see where he kind of falls into place on this grid tonight because Marcel has just shown so much pace among the people we have currently in D1. We do have a couple of new faces in D1 that were just added tonight. I believe Mateo, who was not in the draft due to just some communication errors and just a misunderstanding with our signups. Mateo has taken over for Aston Martin for the remainder of the season, so he will be doing that entire season for them. And then we have, let's see, Wild Poros here, Josh Mulder taking over in the McLaren spot. So a couple of people we always like to see on the grid racing with us. I think his sign up was like half an hour later than our deadline. So I think we had basically started the draft and then his sign up came in. So a little late at that point. Things were a little messy last week with the draft. I did mention that during the draft for myself. I didn't even get home from work until after we had scheduled the draft to start. So I had to come home and didn't have a lot of time to finalize everything and then get the stream going. So we started about half an hour late. But we got through it. Again, apologies for that. And this week, so now with our full qualifying here, everyone is limited to tires. I would imagine a lot of people are going to be going balanced. So they're going to have at least 3 soft tires and 1 set of mediums. So that means that they will likely be using... So we'll see a lot of enters. Like we've seen a lot of enters here. We've seen some people do enters but not set an actual time. Like we saw from Justin earlier, who was just having trouble staying on track with those enters. And then people doing lap times on mediums. Just because the track state is just going to be in a weird spot until we get to about the end of the session. And then that's when we'll see people actually doing their committed push laps on those fresh set of tires. We have Simon here on a push lap. We'll right on board with him as he goes through a little squirrely off that curb. They did update the game earlier this week to make curbs a little bit more aggressive. Before this week, you basically just fly off every single one. Yeah, there you see him very aggressive on those curves, and the car sliding as he goes off of it. It's right on board here as he heads into the hairpin there. Some fancy smoke being put up there. We see this fancy little Mercedes livery. Simon, the team principal of Mercedes, our reigning combined constructors champion. We actually have Jenga Boy into the 9s, and this Aston Martin, I believe, who is that? Is that who is that? That was Kai Guo, I believe. Oh, no, actually, I think that was Mateo, not paying any attention. Almost killing Simon. Simon losing a little bit of time there. I don't think he actually got any damage from that. But that was a bit of a spicy. That was a bit of a lack of awareness there from that Aston Martin driver, I believe, of Mateo, as he goes on his first push lap. We're around that time where people are going to start putting in their first actual push laps in. So again with Mateo, very wide going through that corner, and then very big slide as he exits on that one. Looks like he turned the battery off. No, his battery's back on, so he's got that overtake on. One feature with this game is with the hot lap mode on, you can still use overtake, which will dump more battery and give you more power. And yeah, he did get off of the battery, so he's going to try again. I believe his teammate behind him of Kai, who again, he almost not paying any attention, Mateo. So definitely Mateo, who got in front of Simon before, as we see Kai go down this back straight to the final chicane as he finishes his first push lap. We have a Red Bull maybe in front of him, just starting. A little conservative through that chicane, but he is setting his first valid soft run here, and he does a 9.7, so solid start for him as we go through here. I believe we may have, that is Magnuson Q with a 9.2, and then behind him, I believe that is the other V car. I'm having a hard time spotting these liveries now. It's actually Major Castman going to P6 with a 10.0 on old medium tires. That's a Red Bull crossing the line there, and we have Stelios on the mediums at a 9.7. So Stelios showing that there's a lot of time on these tires. Putting that lap on a set of mediums. I believe, let's see, an Alpine of Maxime back here going through the final chicane. Very close to the wall on exit. But no problem for him, and that puts him into P2, 9.5 on the softs. So I believe that is Ferrari, it looks like, on the track, pushing right now. I believe we have Chubb Tucker. Chubb Tucker on really old softs with his hot lap mode on. Marcel passed his teammate here, just beginning his first soft run. Setting purple sector 1 by over a second. Oh, no, excuse me, a second to his time. But that does put him, I believe, that is the fastest sector 1 by over a tenth. I believe Simon has the fastest sector 1 until now. But Simon down in P7. So again, Marcel kind of blew everyone away in the pace test, finishing his pace test by almost like a 15-second gap to everyone else. So big expectations for him. But we'll see. I mean, there's a lot of time for people to pick up a lot of pace as we move through this season. The other issue, we've all seen Marcel have issues with sometimes pushing a little too hard and losing the car, or making some very aggressive moves. And Marcel, first one into the 8, so beats Magnuson Q by a little less than 3/10. So big lap for Marcel. Definitely, it's hard to say exactly what the cutoff time is going to be here, because we have a lot of people who haven't set actual valid times on softs yet. Let's see, looks like we have a B car back here. Looks like Mac, who is reserving for Kick Sauber tonight. We have a Haas and a McLaren behind him. I don't think they're actually pushing yet. Maybe that is Nathan. That is Nathan, who's just building up some tire attempts for his first push lap here. We have a McLaren, I believe, of Daddy Vlad. So Vlad, I think Poutine was maybe his name. But he is a new face with us. I believe he's been in the server for quite a while, unless I'm mistaken, but he's a new face with us tonight. He is going into the pits. I believe that's Marcel. I think the only one pushing right now is Mac. So we'll hop on board with Mac here, who's pushing at a very odd time. Not sure if he'll have enough time to go back around again if he needs to. This will be his first push attempt on these softs. And Mac becoming a race winner for the first time in ZRL 2 seasons ago at Coda, and beating out Ranger and Justin Schreier for that. So very impressive. But he's setting some nice times here. 22.0. That is putting him a little bit quicker than some of the people in the top 10, but around even pretty much average with everyone inside the top 10. So as he goes through this final chicane, very conservative on that first part. You see him on that overtake button, like I said, just to dump out the rest of that battery. 9.5, so very pacey first lap from Mac, putting him into P3. So again, it's hard to say. This game, a new game, it's completely different than last game. So the people who were really fast last game are people who really figured out how to push these cars in the 23 game. May not have completely figured this game out yet. So looking at a very nice time from Mac there. Ryan Newton down here in P18 on one lap on the soft. So I'm thinking that he may have, and this is Marcel actually pushing again. So where is he actually? He beat his Sector 1 time on this lap, and then he beat his time. So it's the same set of tires as he used before. So this fourth lap he did there, so 8.7. That'll definitely pull him out. That definitely should put him in a safe spot, considering he's the only one in the 8s so far in our session. Matt coming into the pits. I think we have Freddie Razzle on his first push lap with softs. Sound like a little bit of a lockup, but we know broadcast, the spectate feature in this game can be very misleading. Very conservative on the power there. Looks like he was almost a little late on the exit of turn 2 there, excuse me. Fred very close to the wall there. Corner apex. Nice little line there through this little chicane. Little slide on the exit of the previous corner. See where Fred sits at a 19.1. So his time is actually looking pretty decent. If Fred puts this lap in, 22.1, it's a little bit slower than average, but his first sector was really fast. So see where this puts him. We've got traffic actually getting out of his way this time. More discipline there from our Ferrari drivers. But a lot of people going out on track. We are sitting at 1 minute and 42 seconds left in our session for this Q1. And again, the bottom 4 will be going. We do not have 20 drivers, and Fred does a 9.2. Fred goes into P2. So very pacey from Fred. As we have said, Magazine Cube retiring from the session, Maxime retiring from the session, so people are getting an idea of what they expect from the rest of the field. I think these are very, very early retirements. Benefit to Fred, though. Really nice pace. I know he's been playing a lot of career mode. Not a lot of multiplayer races, but just spamming lots of career races because he enjoys that. Leap behind. So we'll try to hop on board here with people as they go across the line here. We have Kai Guo on his second attempt here. Still valid. Really close to invalidating there on that corner exit, or on that, even maybe turn 6 is the corner he was on. My corner knowledge here could be a lot better. Definitely need to do a little studying so I can sound more competent. We'll see as he crosses this sector 2 line. He's actually up on his time, so we will find somebody else. I believe we may have, let's see. So we have Simon and Max still on an outlap. And this Red Bull, let's see. So we have, head towards the bottom of the order here. So we have Ethan Patel on a push lap here. He is currently in 19th place. Again, the bottom 4 will be eliminated. So another retirement. Freddie Razzle has retired. Mateo up here finishing his lap. Mateo in the worry spot. So is Chubb Tucker. So Chubb Tucker finishing his second soft lap. Let's see where he looks like he's looking pretty rough here on this time. 10.7 for Chubb Tucker. So Chubb Tucker will be eliminated. And behind him, I believe we had Ethan Patel who finished and did. Oh no, Ethan is still pushing. Excuse me. I believe I saw somebody get pushed out. So I think Mateo crossed the line. He is now up into P7. We have Daddy Vlad here finishing his lap, but he is up on his time by about a couple of tenths. So this should put him through for now. P13, very close. Simon on that knockout zone. And Ethan goes up to P10. Simon crossing the line. Stays valid. Really close here on this delta. Look how close these times are. Our cutoff is now 10.7. Simon going up to 9.5, or excuse me, 9.7. We have Ryan Newton crossing the line. He backs out. We still have Ike Woe is pushing here. Major Castman, I think, about to cross the line. As he goes to that final chicane, we follow him there. So I have Major Castleman. Chubb Tucker is, I think, pushing again with no battery. Major Castleman not going through. 9.8 for Major Castleman. So he is off just by pure pace, and that is it. So our bottom 4 here will be Josh Mulder, Justin Schreier, Major Castman, and Chubb Tucker. No teammates being knocked out, but I'm sure everyone a little disappointed there. Chubb Tucker well off the pace so far. Major Castman missing out by less than a tenth. Look at that gap, though, from our cutoff zone of Daddy Vlad down to P19, just over 2 tenths, or just over 2 tenths between him and P18. So very close, very, very close times from everyone there towards the back half of the field. Marcel almost half a second faster than Freddie Razzle in the Mercedes. So we'll have to see what happens in the next session. So as we load into the next session, one thing I did not actually take a look at is our weather. Let's see if this thing, this thing It doesn't look like we're going to have any rain. Yeah, it looks like we are just a little cloudy at the end of quali maybe, but no rain. All right, so 15 minutes for Q2. We are down to 15 drivers. And again, with these kind of sessions, a little bit of wasted time. It's possible to do 3 cents here, but you have to be really quick. You're gonna have to go immediately on old tires, and then potentially do 2 fresh runs. Actually, curious these tire percentages. I wonder if this thing is accurate. Ethan actually did use 3 set of softs. I don't believe that. So a lot of people going out after less than a minute in the pits of this session. Yeah, with a lot of people with no telemetry, so a lot of information I won't have. I'll do what I can with what I have. A little bit of a mistake from myself. I even forgot to turn telemetry on, so we'll have to make sure that we make everyone aware of our requirement for next race. So we have an Aston Martin here towards the front of our field. That is of Mateo. So we'll give us an opportunity to ride on board with him and kind of move down the order. I would imagine most people going out this early are on old tires, but this will give us a good idea of how much of a drop-off there is between old tires and really fresh tires. I believe Mateo doing something around a 9.4 in his Q1 session. That's pure memory. I don't actually have a list of what that said. It looked like his car was really didn't want to get out of that corner. A little wide through the previous corner there. It's always interesting to see how, oh my gosh, very, very wide through there. It's interesting to kind of check and see where these guys decide to use that extra overtake, because they will have a little extra battery to work with the current ERS system of this game. And so it's all about finding the most efficient place to use that overtake so that you finish the lap with just a little bit of, before you use up all of your battery. Yeah, I apologize for the screen tearing here. I have a new ultra wide, but I didn't want to stream in ultra wide, so I have this on an extra monitor. I think there are a couple of issues. When Mateo gets over the line, we'll turn on VSync, see what that does. Mateo in the 10, so 10.6, that's a pretty big gap between fresh and old tires. I don't actually know how much tire wear he is at, since we don't have any telemetry data. Let's see. I believe we have Mac here just finishing his lap, 10.3. And I believe a Haas behind him of... Is that? Oh, that's Nathan, excuse me. Nathan beginning... Nathan just came out of the pits, excuse me. So 11 minutes left in our session. I'll roll down here, Django Boy. Marcel, 9.3. Very possible that Marcel did this on fresh tires. Does not appear that he did. Magnuson, very close to his Q1 time. I believe he did 9.2. 9.6 for Magnuson. Nice start for him here. We have Simon on his first push lap here. He is invalid. We also have Ryan Newton, who is invalid behind him. Addy Vlad not pushing it. Fred, excuse me, already finished his lap. Maxime invalidated and then headed into the pits. Now, one thing to kind of note as we sit and wait for qualifying to kind of finish here, when we get into the actual race, the big thing with this game, I would say the most significant change, with the exception of the handling. The handling is just complete. It's like they wiped the board clean of the previous system they were kind of building up between F120 to F123 and had this completely brand new handling system. It's been very controversial, to say the least. However, the other really new thing is just the tires, just how they operate. A lot of controversy with the tire pressure setting. I think they may have come out with a very interesting idea of what to do with the tire pressures, but in execution so far, when it's max setting or basically max pressures is the best way to drive, it doesn't really matter what they do with the tire pressures if there's no decisions having to be made, or but aside from that, also with the tires, is tire wear is very alien compared to previous F1 games. This may be more realistic. It's hard to actually quantify it, but generally, in a more refined sim, what you'll kind of see as a lot of tracks, not necessarily every track, but a lot of tracks where most of the corners are one direction, and all of those corners are very high-load corners. You'll see that the tire that's taking the biggest pounding is a tire that has to do all the work. So if you do a track where the front left is having to do all the work, it's just all these really aggressive right turns and things like that, the tire, in reality, that tire is going to, run out of grip, run out of performance a lot quicker. And it seems like this game is trying to simulate that to a degree, but sometimes it seems like it's very extreme. I remember in one of our preseason races we did when the game first came out, we did Zandvoort, 25% around Zandvoort. We had something of a I don't even know what word to use to describe it, but our tire wear was something like 3 to 5% per lap on the front left, and then maybe like 0.1% for the other three. So when we were pitting with like 40% on the front left, 60% on the front left, something like that, and then like 2 or 3% on all three other tires. So that was very strange. And then for this track also, it's not like that extreme, but we do get some weird tire wear. Let me actually see if I can't pull up somebody with telemetry here. We have Simon actually pushing. He is at 0% on his tires right now, but we'll kind of report that tire wear as he finishes and sort of see what kind of tire wear we're looking at right now for Canada. Still at 0%. Maybe this is not updated. I'll keep an eye on our percentages here, see if it actually changes. We are rocking a beta version of the F1 2014 telemetry, so it's possible some things do not work. And again, we have a lot of people with their telemetry is not enabled correctly. So far, no information on Simon. No way he has 0 tire wear. We have Jack Fletcher, who's on the track, who has some tire wear. See if we get a little more information with that. Tire wear is actually looking pretty even, so 5.465. It's like he's heading back into the pits after setting a 9.3. So we are about going towards that last part of the session where we'll start to see a lot of people set their final time. You have Maxime here, who had already set his time. We have, let's see, Simon just set his 9.3. Fletcher looks like he's heading back into the pits. Magnus and Cube just going into turn 1 here. I would imagine on a fresh set of tires. Maybe a little bit. I think this is actually a one-use set of tires. There's a little bit of wear on here. tire wear at this track so far is pretty even. I've seen in some people's testing that it's a little bit, it's a little bit uneven, kind of rear-oriented, very rear-limited track. Well, Harry there and going into the hairpin for Magnuson Cube. Over here. Magnuson Cube. A little off the pace that Marcel has said here. He may actually be close to the 10s here, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe not that, so maybe high 9. Marcel 8.6, so Magnuson Cube 9-0. All right, that shows how good I am at math. So Magnuson Cube still showing really nice pace, putting himself into P2. Freddie Razzle, who finished P2 in Q1, starting his first of his likely final 2 push laps here. They actually have Mac on a push lap in front of him. Oh no, Mac is on an in lap here. Fred here is pushing. Fred actually has his telemetry on. So we can actually see a little, big snap there from Fred. So he backs out of that. He may decide to go again or pit here for some fresh boots. Looks like a Red Bull behind him. Was there a contact there? What just happened? That is not a Red Bull, is that? What is that? That's Magnuson Cube, I believe. I think he backed out. He wasn't even pushing anyway. These colors are very confusing. That looks just like Red Bull did last game. So Magnuson Cube coming into the pits. Fred finished, or is starting his push attempt here again. Just committing to this set of tires. But we have Jenga Boy here, I believe. This is, Marcel has retired. I believe Jenga Boy is actually Jensen Langston. So I believe, so this is, he is new to our league. So eager to see what kind of time he does. Wrong button there. So we're right on board with him as he finishes his lap here. Very aggressive there through that final chicane. Little to no battery here. 9.4, so that puts him into P7. So remember, this session, the bottom 5 will be knocked out and will not progress into qualifying 3. Well, looks like we have a couple of people coming out of the pits here. Daddy Vlad here for the McLaren. Push lap here, we'll see as he crosses the Sector 3 line up here. We will see where he is on his time. So he's right now looking to be somewhere in the mid-9s based on these times. Maybe a little bit quicker. Let's see how he does on this final chicane. Almost looked like he overbraked a little bit, then was really aggressive on the steering, but that could have been a replay thing. Let's see where he goes. 9.6. So that puts him just outside of that cutoff zone. So a lot of people about to do some laps. Mateo with a big spin there, heading towards the finish line with no battery. So with no time and no battery, looks like Mateo's going to actually get knocked out here. So Mateo he's not blocking this Haas. So Mateo will be out of Q2. Ryan Newton here pushing. Currently the only person at the bottom 5 without a valid lap time. Let's see, we have Fred who just put a 9.0 flat. With Jenga Boy, who is on his push lap here. So it looks like he backed out. Daddy Vlad is pushing here again. Maybe back. No, he's lifting there. Stelios, I believe, just began his lap. Well, right on board, we're here with Ryan. I believe he'll be the next one to set a lap time. And, oh, he cut the corner, so no time for Ryan. Well, he still has 30 seconds, but so Ryan is going to Ryan cuts the final corner and validates, so no lap time there for Ryan for Q2. Not enough time to go back around. So let's kind of hop on board people as they go down the order. I believe we had... Okay, so Jensen is going to go again. He invalidates on the final corner, so he invalidates the next lap too, I would imagine. So Mac is pushing. I believe we have Stelios pushing. He is 5/10 up on his time, so maybe a 9.4 here, 9.3. Hits the wall a little bit there. As he crosses the line, puts him at a 9.2, so puts him well safe of the cutoff zone right now of 9.8 is where I believe his teammate Fletcher, Jack Fletcher, going into the pit, so he feels safe enough to do that. We have Kai Guo who's going to set his time here of 9.1, so he is safe for now. Looks like Simon is done. Nathan going to P6 there. We have Matt going into the pits, and then Maxime this is it. So Maxime, the last one pushing right now. We already have 4 of our bottom 5 already out. So Maxime is the last one here, valid through the final chicane. A little bit squirrely. He looks like he is going to be, does not improve, or he improves a little bit, but not enough. So Maxime, both Alpines, Maxime and Ethan are being knocked out in Q2 here, followed by Daddy Vlad, Mateo, and then our back-to-back champion, Ryan Newton. So that does it for our Q2 session. We will have one more session of qualifying before we get into the race. And right now, it looks like Marcel, Fred, and Magnus and Cube are the men to beat. Stupid controller. All right. Now we move in to Q3 with our final 10. So it'll be a shorter session. I believe we'll have 12 minutes, 11 or 12 minutes. So enough time, 12 minutes. So enough time for 2 stints, depending on how many tires you have. So we'll see who the first one to go out. So Haas and Mercedes. Haas, Mercedes, and Red Bull, excuse me, the only 3 teams to have both their drivers move all the way to Q3. Excuse me. Alpine, both Alpines knocked out, both Williams knocked out. I believe that is very run of the mill here for us, for those teams. It might be a couple of minutes before we see people actually hit the track, because people know they only have really 2 opportunities to set their best lap here. Looks like we have, excuse me, Jack Fletcher and Kai Guo. First one's hitting the track. I don't think we have, let's see, any telemetry data for either of them. We have Jack Fletcher. So Jack Fletcher's on used tires, and so is Kai Guo. Jack on 5% tires compared to Kai's 10% tires. So we'll get an opportunity to see kind of the difference between those tires. One other kind of change with this game in terms of the tires that we didn't touch on earlier is, instead of having arbitrary drop-offs, I guess percentage cliffs that the previous game had, where you get like a 12% or like a 5%, a little bit of a drop-off at 5%, another drop-off at 12%, a big drop-off at 25%, and then another significant drop-off at, I think, 61 or 62%. So I believe it is more of a linear drop-off, just more progressively lose more and more grip over time, rather than cliffs like we saw. So Jack Fletcher, first one here in Q3. Again, a set of old tires. Same thing with Kai behind him. We've seen some solid pace from both of them. Kai being the one closer to the top. Ooh. A little bit too much curb there for Jack Fletcher. We'll follow Kai kind of doing the same thing. Very squirrely as he pushes the front of his car. Kai very smooth through this chicane here. A little bit of like a front lock there as he went into, or excuse me, rear lock there as he went into the hairpin. So we'll hop on board here with Fletcher, see if he stays valid heading into the final chicane. Again, old tires, so this lap time's not going to set the world on fire. So 9.5, so still a solid time for Jack there on those old tires. So 4/10 difference between him and Kai. Kai, again, on really old tires, 5% difference between the two. So everyone who has their telemetry on is showing, with that Nathan Dillon with the humongous spin. Nathan on the out lap. I'm not sure if he has damage, but that was a very interesting time to switch to swap to Nathan. Nathan cutting the track there may have some damage after catching him with that spin. So Stelios here pushing. A lot of people having a little bit of issue coming off that curb, so that curb may just be kind of a bit of a surprise if you carry too much speed over it. Seems to be bogging down the tires when they try to drive, try to use as much as they can on exit. Against Stelios here on pretty old tires. His tires are actually older than Kai's were, so again, we'll probably see another mid-9 time. Very nicely through that final chicane, dumped the last of his battery. You can kind of see where he put some 10 flat. So yeah, these tires are showing. So we're seeing just kind of how much time we lose. So 10%, 20%. You lose over or about a second or so, or maybe half a second in qualifying, if not more. So Simon setting a 9 flat. I don't actually know what he is running because I cannot see his tire information. But with that time being quicker than all of his previous times, I think it's a safe bet. These are fresh softs for Simon. Marcel actually being beat by somebody, I would imagine, because Marcel was on old tires. Nathan here coming out of the pit, so Nathan definitely had damage when we saw it when we hopped on board with him when he spun earlier. So Nathan yet to set a lap time. But he still has enough time to kind of go around, set a time, and then push it back to the pit, so maybe have another shot. Let's see here. I believe we have Mac here, who is supposed to be coming back to the pits. Stelios should be coming back to the pits here also. Simon heading back to the pits, so I believe we have Nathan as the only one active on the track right now. So we will ride on board with him. Hopefully we don't watch him spin. We'll kind of hop on board with him as we get those real F1 sounds, the real authentic F1 sounds as he comes to the hairpin there. We get some more. I'm surprised. Yeah. So these are definitely stock sound. These are definitely recordings rather than actual dynamic sound, which is kind of weird. I'm not a huge fan of it, but we got a really nice look at that Chipotle ad as he went through the chicane there. So we'll stick with Nathan as he's the only one active right now. Marcel going on an outlap here. So we'll continue to ride on board with Nathan here. We will take a look at his sector times. We'll compare them to what everyone else is doing. So I'd imagine for Nathan, these are fresh tires. So 19.1. A little bit slower than Simon, who currently has the fastest with a 19.09. Nathan kind of sounded like he touched the wall on corner entry there. Still made it through the corner. Lost that sector time. 21.7 for him. So that is the fastest sector 2 so far. So Nathan actually putting himself potentially into the 8s here, depending on how well he drives his final sector. Oh, Nathan going into the pits. I guess Nathan just really wanted some fresh tires. And he knows that if he wants to try a quick run. But again, Nathan was fastest through the middle sector by almost 2/10. So that could have been a really nice lap. Maybe aiming for an 8.8 or an 8.7 there, depending on how that final sector went. But he has elected to put on some new boots and try again. Marcel coming back into the pits, just going out on track for fun. We have Nathan's teammate Jensen here. Jensen Langston, fresh face in the Haas here. Looks like he's going to do a push lap very early, just wants that clean air. Although I think at this point you might start running into people on their out laps. So we see one Mercedes coming out now, a Freddie, who I believe is going to be doing 2 out laps before he does his final push lap. He just turned his battery on. He is going. One thing that we still don't have is that they didn't change the HUD that's on the UI, or the UI that's on the wheel there, so we don't actually know what battery mode they're sitting in, unless if we don't have our telemetry thing up there. So we can see his battery there on the left side of his little telemetry trace at the bottom of the screen. You see he is in off lap, and you can see when he goes in overtake. A little bit of slide there on entry, but recovered nicely. So he is a little bit slower than Nathan through Sector 1, so I believe this is one of the slower times for that sector. So as he moves towards this Sector 3 line, let's take a look here. 21.942, so still, I think that's third quickest. A little less than 2/10 slower than Nathan's Sector 2 time, so we may be looking at something like a 9.2 here. Maybe a 9.1, 9.0, depending on how quickly he makes it through this final sector. So a little conservative through that initial part of that corner. 9.4, so not the greatest showing here for him in Q3, but he is in Q3. That's the important part. So putting both Haas's, helping Haas to have 2 people start in the top 10, definitely gives him a nice opportunity for the race here shortly. Now we have Fred, who is, like I said, on a second out lap. We have Magnus and Cube, or I'm sorry, Kai doing a little weaving there. Nathan, who's starting his final push lap. I believe he's the first one to do that after his teammate has set the 9.4. So, see, Nathan, rough Sector 1 last time. Not the slowest, but definitely not the fastest. As he crosses this line, remember, 9.1 before, 9.0, so actually that is the fastest first sector so far. So Nathan already purple through Sector 1. And a lot of clean air in front of him, so we'll kind of bounce down the order as people finish their laps. So right on board with Nathan here. Ooh, a lot of understeer on corner entry. Surprised no invalidation there as he drove up on that curb. He goes into the hairpin. What is the sector time? Another purple sector time, so 21.8. Oh, a lot of understeer for Nathan again, but that kind of is the line there. Let's see, dumping a lot of overtake there because he has a lot of battery to use. Going to hop off at around 13%. So again, Nathan, that's purple for him. And actually Marcel beating his Sector 1 by a 10th already. A little conservative there because he knows he has no valid time. Dump his whole battery. Let's see. Should be in an 8s here. 9.1. So, a little scruffy on that Sector 3. He lost almost 2/10 to Simon's previous time. So he would have been in the 8s if not for the little scruffy Sector 2. So I believe we have that Fred just finishing his lap here with a 8.8. Okay, and I believe that's Magnus and Cube behind him. He just moved right when I pressed the button. So 8.8. So Magnus and Cube still behind Fred. Looks like Marcel is coming around. He is 5/10 up, so 8.3. So 8.3 is definitely going to be pole. Let's see. We have Simon here coming through. But we have it's a Red Bull of Fletcher, if I guess is Fletcher. 9.2 for Fletcher, and then I think we're going to have Stelios behind him. And then we should have Simon coming behind, so 9.1 for him. Simon still in P4. Where does he improve? Just a little bit. Still not into the 8s. So Mac, or actually no, that was Jansen, who does not improve his position. I believe he may have improved his lap time. That's his day done now. I think that's it for everyone. Nathan's done. Mac actually is done too. So that is our qualifying order. So it was really close in Q1 and relatively close in Q2, but then Marcel kind of blowing out the competition here by half a second. Buddy Razzle with a really impressive performance so far. 8.8, just edging out Magnus and Cube, and then Simon and Nathan right behind. Nathan showed a lot of pace though. Those sector times were really competitive up until that final corner. Nathan looking like in a really nice spot to maybe fight for a podium here. And both Red Bulls in 7 and 8. Here with Kai a little bit off the pace here, probably not able to set a clean lap as Kai showed some nice pace in the previous qualifying segments. And boy, isn't that HP just ugly on this Ferrari car? It's just everywhere. And it's just so awful. What a terrible ad. So, as expected, Marcel kind of clapping everyone here in qualifying. I think Ethan, who did not get out of Q3, was saying something about if Marcel doesn't win this race by a mile, then that's a big choke job. So we'll have to see. Will his race pace match his quality pace? Will he just will he smoke everyone before? Or we'll see. Safety cars can always happen. Weird stuff happens, so I am excited to see what will happen here. As we load in. Again, we don't have Park Ferme in this league. We're still rolling with that. It seemed like, just for me, I think it just kind of gives people more options. People can build for the situation, build their car for it. Is it realistic? No, but this game's not realistic. And also, like, we're in a spot where nobody knows how the hell to build setups, so gives people an opportunity to kind of tweak things, maybe make some changes that may help them in the race, help them be more competitive. Magnus and Cube congratulating Marcel on the title. So it's Marcel's world, and we're just living in it for D1. So everyone's just fighting for second, it appears. Also, may everyone make fun of Campbell for learning how to read. Okay, here we go. Lights out. We'll hop on board here, I believe, with Simon. Simon with a really nice start, actually getting in front of Magnus and Cube as we head in to turn 1. So far, so good for everyone. Kind of roll down here to kind of make sure to see if everyone's cleanly through, and it does appear so. So we'll kind of hop over here and take a look and see what everyone is starting on. So the expectations are a medium hard or hard medium one-stopper with the potential with an outside shot for 2 stops. Some spicy ghosting here happening between a few people. It's just that Haas just ghosted through like 400 people. Valporos losing a little bit of onus there as we look through, and it looks like some gaps are being formed, but a lot of close racing here in the midfield. Mateo down in the back. Old hotkeys don't work. Magnus and Cube actually fallen down to P18, and Mateo even further behind. So definitely something has taken place that we missed as we were bouncing through the order here. Actually, Fred actually taking the lead of the race here. So Fred leading the race as we go into turn 1. of lap 2. So again, we were in. So a bit of a gap here forming between P5 and 6. Guo kind of falling off. Maybe these hards putting him in an unfortunate position. Mateo well behind the rest of the field. So Mateo struggling. He just teleported backwards again. Mateo having some computer problems or some lag there. Because we just watched him lose half a lap in the distance duration of 1 lap. So Red is now actually winning. So Simon closely behind them, Nathan behind them, Stelios behind them. Nathan on these hards may put him at a disadvantage, may also put Stelios behind him at a disadvantage, as we see Kai just losing more and more time to the 5 people at the lead or at the front of the pack right now. So look back here, Ryan Newton very close. Wald Poros, but this track is not the greatest track for overtaking. Kind of turn 1 is really your best bet, which also means you have to keep it really close to somebody as you go through this final chicane. So I'll hop up here with Max. Simon setting the fastest lap. Mac very close to Maxime, but no move being made yet. Simon's still very close to Marcel. So Marcel not running away from the field like we may have expected with those quality times. We have Fletcher here with Flat. Oh, Fletcher hits the wall, and actually it caused him to spin. So Fletcher loses on that position and loses several positions for that spin, but it doesn't look like he has any damage. So unfortunate for Fletcher there, because he was in a really nice spot to make a move on Daddy Vlad. Mac looks like he's having an issue on the exit of the corner right in front of where we were watching Fletcher, losing out on a bunch of positions there. Mac already with a 3-second time penalty, so looks like those are all track limits. So there's a lot of track limit warnings already up and down the grid. So Major Castleman actually getting by Ethan in the hairpin. They're both ghosted. So Castleman and Ryan Newton side by side. Looks like Castleman is giving the position to Ryan, and also giving the position to Ethan. Maybe had an illegal overtake or something. Ethan Patel already with a 3-second time penalty. Said he had 12 seconds of time penalties in an MRL race earlier. Nathan still with the pack on these hards, so he's still doing a really nice job. Marcel has retaken the lead of the race. A lot of battling here between Daddy Vlad and Jenga Boy off the track. So Ryan Newton with 3-second time penalty back here. Looks like a lot of people just having a little bit of an issue keeping it on track at the moment. We still have Mateo down there 30 seconds behind Jenga Boy, or excuse me, Jensen in P18. So Mateo just without a safety car, his race is basically toast. And as we hopped off of Simon there, we saw a little bit of a swirly exit. But Fred is doing a good job. Fred and Marcel, even on battery. Keep in mind, the battery recharge is really, really fast here. So just because you see someone low on battery doesn't necessarily mean anything. Or mean that they are just losing the long-term battle. So now another kind of big gap here. Looks like Maxime and Kai are in their own little battle here for P6. And then Justin Schreier here leading the next group of drivers all the way down to P15 from P8. Up here towards the front, Nathan really close to Simon. Nathan may be having some slight issues here, as he's losing a little bit of time to the leaders. Almost up to 8.5 tenths there. It's like more battles back here. Some big battles here, like between a bunch of drivers. Hop on here with Fletcher as he's in the back. It looks like we have a Williams. I think it was Ryan Newton hit the wall and it caused him to spin. So he goes really quickly. But the battle is still ongoing. We have Fletcher here in front. Now 3 wide going into the hairpin. I believe that's Magnuson Cube on the inside. Magnuson immediately ghosting. The ghosting is happening really fast on this track. But Fletcher coming out in front of everyone. Schrei running away from the rest of the field. Now Schrei has an opportunity to try to catch up with Maxime. It's like Daddy Vlad getting overtaken. Now his teammate behind him may have an opportunity. Not yet. He's really close. Mac down in P13. Major Castman still in the fight here in P14. But a lot of spicy battling through that last lap. Or P8 or P9 here, excuse me. We hopped on board there with Castman and immediately got a 3-second penalty. So we have 4 people with 3-second penalties already. Our top 3 have no track limit warnings. Nathan has 2. Stelios has 1. But the top 3 all have 0. So Freddie back in the lead of the race. It'll be interesting to see if Marcel gets him back here with the DRS. He's dumping the use a little bit of battery with the overtake. It's hard to kind of keep up with these this lead battle just because so much spicy action is happening towards the rear. I'm just kind of watching these deltas and heading to where it gets close. So we'll kind of hop on board back here with these crazy people back here in the mid pack or in the midfield. See if any more spiciness happens. So far, no. Jack Fletcher getting a penalty, so expected that we're going to see quite a few penalties. As we're only 7 laps into this race, we're a fifth of the way into the race. We have 5 people with 3-second time penalties. So McLaren's running in 11 and 12 right now. Chubb Tucker back here on these mediums is kind of losing the pack. A little bit more than a second behind Ethan Patel, so we will not have DRS through this back straight. Marcel really close to Fred here in the lead of the race. Marcel with 100% battery, Fred with a little bit less than that. Marcel not dumping the battery, but that straight line advantage is very big. Fred going a little defensive, it almost looked like, so Marcel does not send it there, but he will have DRS again as they go through this corner. The gap to Fred is high enough to where Marcel is not close enough to make a move. Simon's still with him. Nathan and Stelios just pulling away from the rest of the field. So we have more battles here between Mac. Assman with a little bit of a weird exit, hitting the wall. So we have actually Magnuson, Cube overtaking Justin Schreier there, and then Fletcher has caught back up with them. So some stuff happening back here. Looks like Daddy Flad has been spun, and he has lost quite a few positions. So now Major Castleman's at the front of this rear train that we have building here. I'll call it the penalty train. That Chubb Tucker and Jensen do not have penalties yet. So, and they are caught. And so, Fletcher is not a part of that battle now. Fletcher is here fighting with Justin and Magnuson now. Up here towards the front, we have Simon and Nathan going at it. Looks like Nathan actually getting in front of Simon. So Simon still kind of trailing. A little bit of a move there from Stelios almost, but just a little too much traffic in front of him to make an attempt there. So Nathan in front of those mediums. So maybe we're seeing the mediums actually start to fall off. If we kind of tab over here to our telemetry, see what kind of information we have. Magnuson Q was at 12% tire wear on these hards. So is Kai Guo. So these the tire wear is extremely low compared to the mediums. We're looking at Fred in the front with 26% tire wear already, so literally half the tire wear. So these hards are going to go for a really long time. If they're already beating these mediums, and that does not look good. We may see a pit stop very, very soon from these medium tires. Maxime actually falling off of the pace of Kai. Again, maybe that this medium tire is just not holding up very well, excuse me. But the field has kind of split up quite a bit. Seems like the people who get caught up in incidents, or then we see Chubb Tucker just cut the whole corner. Chubb Tucker is struggling quite a bit at the moment. Ryan Newton kind of falling off this pack after he ran into the wall earlier, causing him to spin. Now back up here towards the front, it looks like Simon is actually losing the front, and now Stelios is probably very eager to get by him to try to get back up into the lead pack. Jensen getting his first penalty down in P15. So Simon dumping probably quite a bit of battery to try to get in the DRS. He won't have DRS for this back straight. Stelios using a lot of battery, but he's kind of too far back to make anything happen. Nathan actually going for the lead of the race now, so these hards are definitely just better tires than these mediums now. If Marcel is now in front of or behind Nathan on these medium or on these hards, and now Nathan is going for the lead, will he have the pace to pull away? Again, these hards are literally half the wear of these medium tires. I mean, some of these mediums are actually doing better. Major Castlemans are doing pretty well, 23%, but Fred's are at 30%. He's really our only reference. Him and Stelios are our only reference within the top 5 of our pack here. Nathan not electing to go for the move, but is dumping his battery. Fred, no battery or no DRS going into turn 1. Nathan is going to take that opportunity to go for the move into turn 1. Fred trying his best to stick it, but actually Nathan going super deep there through turn 2. Fred's going to actually hold on to that position. No, actually Fred actually does not get a better exit, and Nathan is now leading our lead train. Nathan on these hard tires now leading the race, and Marcel Paps, who beat everyone in qualifying by half a second, and Magnus and Cube has given him an honorary championship between sessions. Nathan Doan now leads our Division 1 race. So the hard tires, we'll kind of see. We have Kai, who is pulling away by a lot to Maxime on these mediums. Magnus and Cube actually doing well to kind of get back up the order. He was down in P18 at one point in this race. So Simon now looking for a move on Marcel. Marcel struggling on these tires. We see Fred going to go for a move potentially here on Nathan with the DRS. Marcel kind of falling back a little bit. Simon had an opportunity to maybe make a move. Stelios just kind of hanging on with this lead pack. Kai is kind of gaining a little bit of time, gained about 3/10 to this lead train. So lots of penalties happening towards the back. Another penalty, or actually Magnus and Cube getting around Maxime. So Fletcher is now in that fight, and so is Justin Schreier. So he is in that too. So V-Carb in a nice spot to fight for some points here. But again, just look how many people we have. Our first pit, so Daddy Vlad has decided to pit. He was well down the order. He is going to be putting on hard tires, so that'll be his tire for the rest of the race, as we can see from just the tire wear difference between everyone. So right now, looking at our tire wear, looking at Kai Guo is at 17%, 18%, just hitting 18% after 12 laps. So his tire wear is less than 2% a lap. So he may go something like 25 laps. 23, 25 laps on these hard tires before he decides to pit. We have a yellow flag somewhere. I believe that's Ethan Patel around. Can't see any can't see any wing damage on him, but Stelios kind of falling off the order here. He still has DRS, so he's still with him, but yeah, these medium tires definitely seem to be struggling compared to these hards. So it would be an absolute disaster for these hard runners if a safety car comes out anytime in the next 10 laps or so, because these medium tires are shown to just stink after lap 8 or 9 compared to these hards. Ooh, big slide from Fred there. So Fred's going to lose out a lot of time there to Nathan. Nathan has a really good opportunity to pull away from the whole entire field. Is he not going to dump his whole battery? No, he's electing to stay off because he knows Fred's going to catch him with the DRS. So Nathan with a nice opportunity to potentially pull away. Fred having a bit of an issue through that chicane again, so you're going to have to dump a lot of battery just to get back in the DRS of Nathan. Some crazy guy named Ryan Bonney just hopped in our chat saying crazy nonsense. So thank you, Ryan Bonney, for saying some crazy nonsense. We appreciate the crazy nonsense. So Daddy Vlad pits, Ethan pits behind him. We saw Ethan pit, Chub Tucker pit several laps ago. So we see Marcel and Stelios going into the pits. Now our grid is really spread up, so they will have to charge through a lot of traffic. So we'll see how long these hard runners stay out. But again, these hard runners are just lapping, are just carrying on so well. We're gonna see over 20 lap stints for Marcel and Stelios. Where are they going to come out? They're going to come out right behind each other. Looks like there is a couple of cars right in front of them, so they're going to come out right behind Mac and Major Castleman and Wild Poros, so they're right in this battle. So this is going to be juicy to see how much of a difference these fresh hards make compared to these old hards and old mediums. So again, Stelios is right behind them. Ethan getting another 3-second time penalty. I think that puts him up to 9 seconds now. Oh, he's at 6 seconds. Ooh, Marcel almost going into the back, having to cut the whole corner. Not sure if he got a track limit penalty or a track limit warning there, but it looks like he does get... Excuse me, he does not get by anyone there. Stelios actually sitting up the inside and running into the back of Mac. Now they're side by side. Marcel has nowhere to go. Actually, nope. Mac moved over. Now Marcel is side by side with him, and Stelios is going to dump his whole battery, try to get by Mac also. Mac just doesn't want any part of this and just gets out of that. So Mac is the first one to fall victim to our fresh tire runners. Fred is pit in front of them. Where does he come out? It's going to be really close between them. As he comes out, he'll probably be behind them all. So we'll hop on board here with Stelios. Do we see Fred? Fred's in front of them? Okay, so Fred is in front of Marcel on one lap better hard tires. We'll see how much of a difference that makes as we have seen. Excuse me. The tire wear is not a lot. So Simon has been gapped by Nathan, and Nathan is now in just full push mode, so he probably still has maybe 10 laps to go before he can actually pit, realistically. So Marcel's going to get by Wild Poros. Let's see, Stelios actually lost a lot of time to both of them, so he's not going to be in front of them. Or excuse me, not be in front of Wild Poros on these old hards. So Wild Poros will have, or excuse me, Josh Mulder will have DRS from Marcel. Yes, he will. Marcel is still in that DRS of Fred, so... Fred doing his best to try to drop Marcel there. Marcel, no DRS. Yeah, Marcel, no DRS, but both of them having to dump their whole battery. So Fred still has an opportunity to make something happen, but actually behind them, excuse me, Stelios did get by Wild Poros. Josh Mulder. So Simon's going to come out of the pits a little bit behind him, I believe. Let's see. Yeah, he'll be right. Actually, he'll come out right in that battle. Ryan Newton speeds into the pit lane. So Simon right behind Josh Mulder and maybe trying to make a move here into turn 3 and does get by them. So Simon on 2-lap fresher tires, only just over a second behind Stelios. He'll have to get back into that DRS zone if he doesn't want to lose them for good, because they're going to run away really fast because they're 5 seconds away from the oldest tires now. So Simon may wind up in no man's land here if he cannot catch them, and he doesn't have a lot of battery. Doesn't have enough battery to get into DRS for this lap. He should have the tires to keep Wild Poros, Josh Mulder, and Mac behind him. A little lag there from Mac, but Simon dumping every last drop of battery he has to try to catch them, because they are going to pull away so fast. Important to note here as we start moving into undercut territory here, Fred did a 12.0 and Nathan did a 12.7, so there's going to be a lot of work for Nathan to do to catch up with these guys at the end of the race. And as you look at that, look at our board there. Every single person is on hard tires right now, so that is definitely the tire to be on, even if it's old. As these guys are still doing some pretty impressive laps on the old tires back here. As I say that, they are in the 13s, so Nathan is cooking for old tire runner. So Simon just losing more and more time. Just came out just in a really unfortunate spot just behind Josh Mulder. If he was in front of him as he came out of the pits, he would have absolutely been in this DRS train. So he's going to have to hope for a little bit of battling to kind of to catch up with them in the next few laps, but Marcel is taking his time here. So back here in P11, we have Maxime and Justin Schreier in a bit of a battle. Maxime, really nice run on Justin here. As we saw Justin go a little bit deep. Marcel actually taking the lead of the race from Fred. Simon's still within 2 seconds, but he's not gaining on them. Stelios still in this battle for the lead. So right now our net 3 or excuse me, our net leaders are Marcel, Fred, and Stelios, with Simon just a little bit behind them. As you can see, he's already over almost 3 seconds in front of Josh Mulder, who he was battling just a short while ago. Ryan Newton's really struggling with the penalties. I believe he is now at something like 16 seconds of penalties. But Nathan's still at the front. He's going to have to keep going, probably 6 or 7 laps. Oh, no, he decides to go now. So he's electing to do a 16-lap stint on medium tires. And we saw earlier that those tires just do not make it that long. So Nathan just understands that if he keeps going, they may actually catch him before he pits. So Marcel is going to take the lead of the race here. Fred's right behind him. Stelio still within their DRS. Nathan coming out on mediums will be behind them by quite a bit. But if we take a look at our penalty situation, so Nathan coming out behind Simon and in front of Josh Mulder, which is important. And actually, this may help Simon's race too, because when Nathan catches Simon, he should have, in theory, better tires. And should be able to pull him, maybe able to pull him back into this DRS battle between our top 5 drivers. So you kind of see back here towards the back, Ryan Newton just completely cutting turn 1 with no regard for human life. Giving that position to Ethan right there. Ethan, Mateo down here, way just all by himself this entire race. And we actually see an Aston Martin sandwich right now with Kai taking the lead after Simon has pit. And we have Fred, who is overtaking Marcel for the net lead of the race. It's like Kai is going to stay out for as long as he possibly can. Stelios still within them. Simon losing a buttload of time, almost 3 seconds behind Stelios now. Fred setting a fastest lap of a 10.8. So we will have to use, let's see, I don't have, the only tire wear data I have of the top 5 is Fred and Stelios. So Mac and Josh Mulder have decided to pit. Another penalty for Jensen here, who is still going to be behind them by quite a bit when they come out of the pits. He is on these hard tires, and it's hard to judge just how much wear. So back up here towards the front. I mean, we have Maxime here behind Justin Schreit. Looks like Maxime will get a move done on him, but Nathan is already caught up with Simon. Simon's struggling trying to overpush these hards right now. 3.5 seconds, so Nathan has a lot of work to do just to catch them. And then he's going to have to overtake all of them to kind of get back into the lead. So we will see just how well he can hang on to his pace with these medium tires. So 1 lap down, 2 laps down here as they cross the line. Nathan in front of Simon. Almost 4 seconds to go to catch back up with the lead of the race currently being being held by Fred. Some battles here between Schrei and Maxime. Maxime getting the move done. Maxime keeps setting the fastest lap on the mediums here. Excuse me, Nathan Doan setting his first valid lap as a 10.8. So Magnuson doing a really nice job here to catch up with Fletcher. Jack Fletcher, who is on these relatively old hards. But Nathan has already cut into that lead a little bit, down to 3.4. We saw almost 3.9 when he overtook Simon. So I'm sure Simon will be happy to just sit behind Nathan and have Nathan tow him along. Back to the fight for the lead of the race. So Schrei and Maxime kind of in their own battle here with Major Castleman right behind both of them. And Mac and Josh Mulder in their own little world here on these mediums. So everyone is pit except for Kai. Kai just kind of holding on for potential safety car to kind of give him the lead of the race on the best possible tires. So when he finally pits, he's going to fall well down the order. We have not even seen a VSC. So chances of safety car with only 13 laps to go is very, very low. Mac and Mulder still in their battle for P12 here. Daddy Vlad and Ryan Newton and Ethan Patel in their own little train here towards the end, towards the back. Nathan actually losing a bit of time to these guys. Well, he's getting it back, but still a long way to go with no DRS. So this is kind of a death knell for Nathan. If Simon overtakes him, Nathan's just not going to get back into the lead race, towards the lead, I would imagine. They're just way too far ahead, but impressive from Stelios here. Hanging on to this final podium position. There goes Kai, finally deciding to pit, so imagine he'll be on mediums, but his mediums he will be well down the order when he finally comes out of the pits. Like a P12 maybe, P13. Not that far, yeah, P12 is likely. Actually, he'll come out in front of these guys, so he's going to be P8. It's a really nice spot to keep fighting. Unfortunately there for Simon with that penalty. It's going to hurt his potential for scoring a podium here, but him and Nathan are struggling to catch the leaders right now. I can imagine that these medium tires just are not holding on as long as Nathan would like. The pace difference is just not good enough for the amount of wear he's having to drive with. So it looks like we just have a 3-horse race to the end of this. Stelios just hanging on behind both of these guys. And Fred actually going off track there, so he might actually lose the position here to Marcel. I'm imagining Marcel's dumping his battery. Jensen Langston with another penalty. Now Stelios really close, maybe looking to make a move, but any kind of battling between these two may just... Stelios really kind of thought about it. Mateo with a penalty way back on his own. Simon and Nathan with a big battle as they go through turn 1 and 2. Looks like Nathan's going to come out on top of that. Aspen with another penalty. Up to 9 seconds for Castleman now in P9, but with the amount of penalties people are having around him, a little bit of an update here for the lead. Everyone in the top 3 is on 2 warnings, so this race may actually be decided by who... Stupid controller. This race may wind up being decided by who doesn't get a 3-second time penalty as we go through our final 12 laps. You know, it is rare early on in this game where we have a race with no safety cars, so lucky for Chubb Tucker and Mateo. They're just having to drive out in the middle of the Mojave Desert all by themselves. That's how far away they are from the rest of the race. Simon actually getting in front of Nathan here. But they just are not making up any inroads to the leaders, so the strategy for Nathan just has not worked. It'll be interesting to see as we go through other tracks how much of a difference this is going to make and how often we'll just see the softer tire to the harder tire strategy, if that's just going to be what it is, if the pace difference between the softer tire just isn't good enough. To offset the potential undercut from people pitting earlier. Now with Freddie Razzle back in the lead of the race after a little bit of a squirrely moment on the previous 2 laps. Marcel back in P2 with Stelios in P3. With a nice view of both of them behind. Marcel just getting out of the slipstream of Fred so he doesn't go side by side with them into that chicane, as there's basically no way for 2 cars to fit through that thing. Marcel content to sit behind Fred there. So now a big battle here for P6 between Magnuson Cube, Kai Guo, and Jack Fletcher. The only issue is the amount of penalties here. Magnuson Cube sitting at 3 seconds and Jack Fletcher sitting at 3, so if Kai can just sit where he's at, he will earn those positions from both of them regardless of who's in front of him. So another penalty for Jensen. I think he is up to 21 seconds now. If we look at penalties, we have Ryan Newton with 16. The 10-second speeding penalty is definitely making it look higher than it is. But for Jensen Langford here, Langston, he is at 21 track limit warnings and 21 penalties, or 21-second penalties. So he's definitely having a hard time keeping it in between the lines. Back up here towards the front, we have Stelios, actually the first one of our leaders to get the 3 seconds. So Stelios will default himself down to P3. Kai Guo getting in front of Magnuson Cube on this back straight. Jack Fletcher's still in the fight here. Major Caspin well behind them and has a significant amount of penalties as we see. Look at our tires here. Mack and Poros. Mack and Mulder just still partying back here by themselves for P12. Josh Mulder with 6 seconds, whereas Mack has 3. So you're only riding with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 people with no penalties. Chubb Tucker doing an impressive job, even though he has no pace on this race. A yellow flag back here. I think that's Mateo. A little bit slow through the hairpin. Mateo, I believe, is very close to being lapped. So that is the leaders there. More yellow flags. So somebody's stopped on track back here. That is the B-carb of Justin Schreier. Hard to see if he has any damage. So back up towards the front. Nathan still in just this 3-point-something seconds. With only 7 laps to go, he likely won't be catching them as they just cannot make any inroads into this lead. But you can bet there'll be some Mondo fighting for the lead of this race at the end. Unless Marcel can just pull away. Fred knows that Marcel wants to get away from this and just have a clean finish to his race. Currently with that penalty of Stelios, Fred is the only one that may have an opportunity to beat Marcel in our F124 opening race. Let's see, we have some battle here between Ryan and Ethan. Looks like Ethan getting a position there on Ryan. 2-time championship defender, likely not a lot of experience or practice with this game. Drives into the grass and then drives into the wall. So, very mature from Ryan. Always has buckets of that. So Marcel back towards the lead of the race. Still holding it. Fred not on the battery. Dogs barking in the background. Fred not making a move. Ryan has retired on track. Causing a safety car. Okay. Well, that is... That's pretty typical. I'm at... Justin Schreier getting a drive-through as he heads into the pits. So a lot of people deciding to pit. He getting 2 drive-throughs there? He just got 2 drive-through penalties? Is that what we saw? It's hard to say. But I did see 2 pop-ups. So Chubb Tucker with no penalties has a big opportunity to make some stuff happen. It'll be curious to see. I would imagine everyone will be pitting for soft tires, or maybe even medium tires. I don't. It's hard to predict just because we saw so much of a difference. They may even stay out. So Nathan Doan is deciding to pit. So Nathan is going to pit, and it looks like Nathan gets a drive-through penalty for speeding. What? That's interesting. So Marcel, everyone pitting. Marcel actually being jumped by Stelios in the pit lane here. Nathan right behind them. Everyone on softs. Hard to say if they're fresh or not. I'll have to take a look at Nathan's penalty after the race, because it will drop him to the bottom. It will give him, I believe, a 25-second time penalty. And depending on when the safety car comes in, he may get disqualified when the race resumes, depending on how many laps he does. So, I mean, hopefully it ends the end of lap 33, I believe, and he won't get disqualified. It's hard to say. And Nathan with the drive-through. And then Justin Schreier with a drive-through also. So we may be looking at just a 2-horse race for the race win here. So we do have some people, like we mentioned before, hard to say exactly what tire to go on. A few people have elected the medium tire. We see Justin Schreier, Manny Cube, and Kai Guo on the medium tire. Kai now actually with all these penalties, he actually has an opportunity to win this race. 3 people in front of him with penalties. He is sitting in P6 with only 1 track cut. Marcel, Nathan, and Fred, again, only 2 track limit warnings. So we'll have to see. We'll have to see how that goes. So we still have quite a few people behind the rest of the field. So Chubb Tucker and Mateo, who are still on the lead lap. The safety car came out, I believe, on lap 29, so it's possible on the next lap it'll go in regardless of anything else. So, looking at these tires, so the medium tire, looks like the people who put on medium tires put on tires that they ran in qualifying. So, it's like Cody in the chat saying, if you go under the delta on pit entry, you get a drive-through. I know one thing we've had in the past is when we get to a safety car or a VSC, things like that, you would stay under your delta up until you got to the pit lane, then you would just kind of drive into the pit lane, ignoring your delta. So I guess this must be their version of a fix for that, which makes sense. I'm sure in real F1, if you decided to ignore your delta and go into the pits, you would be heavily penalized. Safety car in this lap, we have the entire field caught up. We actually have Jensen, who decided to pit again on the freshest softs. So he... okay, Jensen is not on fresh softs. His tires are at 26%. So he may be on fresher tires, but a new set of tires, but they are far from new. Here we go. We have Fred in the lead of this race with Stelios with the penalty behind him. So big opportunity here for Fred to win our maiden F124 race. So Fred with a really nice jump on Stelios there. Stelios and Nathan actually getting that 3-second time penalty. So even with that drive-through penalty, he'll likely be disqualified as he crosses the line to begin the final lap. So we'll see what Nathan decides to do. But Fred with a really nice opportunity to pull away from the rest of the field. If he can build a size enough gap to Marcel, he has a really nice opportunity. We also have to watch here with Kai Guo, no penalty also. That safety car thing is just sitting there. We have I believe that's Try is in the back, spun, so a little incident there. A little bit of a gap forming between P9 and 10, so Castleman into P9 with Maxime in P10. 2 seconds there, so maybe Maxime struggling a little bit, but these medium tires are showing off quite well. So right now, a little bit of a lag, I think, for myself. But still, Marcel, no penalty. Will Stelios continue to fight him to make Marcel lose the potential to fight for the win? Marcel having a lift there. Fred, looks like Stelios closing the gap quite well there. And now Kai Guo getting in front of Nathan, so maybe Nathan actually pitting just to serve the drive-through. So Nathan not going to be playing with the drive-through here. Going from potentially fighting for the lead here with the safety car, but because of the drive-through into the pits, he's going to have to serve that penalty. Maxime, a lot of battles here. Maxime with no penalty, getting in front of Daddy Vlad and Josh Mulder here, getting in front of both these McLarens, or actually holding his position in front of both the McLarens. Look at that, 5 seconds to the rest of everyone else. And as we move back up into these straights, Marcel, again, no penalties, so 2 track limit warnings for both of them. Marcel really close to Stelios. So Stelios, not a ton of batter here, so Marcel is definitely going to be dumping here. We try to clear Stelios. Stelios will have DRS. It's going to be hard for Marcel to make this move before we get to that corner. Is he going to send it? Looks like he's actually going to send it. So he just has so much overspeed, almost going into the, almost catching Fred there. If that was a straight, he would have gotten right past him. So Fred, no DRS. Now Marcel has DRS again, but not a lot of battery there. So now final lap for Marcel and Fred. Will we see a little bit of stuff happening here? Simon kind of losing the leaders here again, like we saw earlier. So now Kai Guo actually in a position to fight for a podium, depending on how much time he loses behind these guys. Potentially P3 with Stelios with that 3-second time penalty, and Simon with a penalty also. Madison Cube right behind them, but Madison does have 3 seconds of time penalties. Daddy Vlad back here. Again, no penalty, so a lot of positions potentially to make up here, but that 6-second gap from Maxime to everyone else is definitely going to hurt his potential for position gain. Maxime also kind of hurting his own potential gain also, falling all the way down. So right now, we'll just kind of get off the tires here and just look at these penalties, because we are on the final lap, and now we have Kai Guo going in the hairpin here. And now, as we go towards this straight, Marcel looks like he's going to make the move happen before we go into the final chicane. He will have DRS again. So unless he cuts the corner. Oh, Fred cuts the corner, just trying to make something happen. So now Kai Guo actually, he's going to get a podium. Stelios gets, no, Stelios right behind him. So Kai Guo in P2. So Kai Guo goes from all that to P2. And Fred and Stelios with an insane battle at the end. So we'll run down the order here as people cross the finish line. Nathan falling all the way down to P17, and the whole entire order being the whole entire grid being reordered there with all of these penalties. Justin Schreier should be disqualified or given a 25-second penalty as he crosses the line here. Let's see, what will it give him? It looks like it gave him a. It's hard to see. So again, Marcel coming out on top there, just being in second place, using that DRS to make that move happen on Fred, and then Fred gets the penalty on the literally the last corner to lose him out on the P2. And that means Kai Guo in the Aston Martin going out and finishing in P2 at our opening race in Season 11 with Fred right behind him. And then, Jack Fletcher, or excuse me, not Jack Fletcher, Stelios Repis in that Red Bull, just 4 hundreds behind Fred, just making a big move there for the potential end of the race. So we'll kind of get these deltas here where the penalties drop off. So unfortunate drive-throughs for some people. Gonna get the race director. There's a lot on this race director. Just look how far this goes. Yes, lots and lots of track limit penalties, lots and lots of penalties, lots and lots of stuff. So hope you recorded your race, because I'm sure in addition to all these track limit penalties, we're going to have quite a few penalties as well. So that does it. I'm going to hop over here. Hopefully this page works for us. It looks decent enough, I guess. So that is that. Yeah, once we get the telemetry stuff sorted out, we will be able. That'll look a little bit better. But let's see. Let's get these guys. Let's get these guys into the waiting room for their post-race interviews. And we will get going on that. So no interview from Kai Guo. And so we have in P3 in our opening race here in F124, the career merchant himself, Fred.
Oh, mate.
What's going on, man? So what were you expecting to be fighting for the win of the race coming into tonight?
No, not really. Zero practice. Well, actually, I had like a half hour practice before.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'll be honest, very pissed off with myself. Getting that 3 seconds. I had 2 warnings since lap 14, and worked really hard just to try and keep with Marcel. Also with 1 more warning left. But Marcel had a little. Let's just say he fucked up the last corner a little bit, last lap, and it really put me off because I thought I'd be crashing into him. So I just tried to get out of the way, and he got me a 3 seconds. Should be P2, but P3 is still good, especially first race of the game, season, podium. So hopefully I'll be back for more.
Yeah, man, that was definitely interesting. One thing we were worried about, I mean, everyone was worried about after we saw qualifying, was that Marcel was just gonna clap everyone in the race, but you and Simon and Nathan and Stelios kept him in check that whole entire race. So that was really nice to see, and it was just a fun little battle between you guys. Did you? So I know you didn't have a lot of practice, but you've done a lot of career races. Did that give you a little advantage when you were going in thinking of tire strategy? Because the hards in that first stint were really good, but just because of how long you would have to run them to make them work, they just didn't work, having to pit for mediums.
Well, the safety car kind of saved me.
Mm-hmm.
So like I'll be honest, it would either be a 50-50 with me and Marcel winning, even if we ended on the hards. But the safety car kind of changed it up because Marcel got held up in the pit. So I was like, well, I'm P1 and Stelios is P2. So if I can maybe hold Stelios in P2, then maybe I've got a chance to win. But Marcel did a really good move on Stelios. And then he got me. I think Marcel was definitely the quickest driver on the grid. But again, it's only the first race of the season, so everything can change, you know. Marcel could be, I mean, like we saw last year on the F123 game, he had a really good start and then he just dropped off. So hopefully that can happen this season, and hopefully I can actually fight for a championship for once instead of just being a back marker.
Oh, so do you think you actually, like, if a seat opened up, we could get you in for the rest of the season, like all 9 races?
Yeah. Yes.
All right.
100%.
Well, Fred, congrats on this podium, man. Really impressive pace from you tonight, and we look forward to getting you in a seat as quickly as we can.
And nice cheers. Cheers for the broadcast,
Yeah.
as usual.
Have a good night, man. And with Kai declining the interview, we will just congratulate him on that really impressive race. The safety car definitely helped him out a lot, but he did not getting those penalties. Just it was so big here. Him and Marcel are top two drivers, no penalties, and so congrats for him, dude. We look forward to more spicy results from you, man. So good luck for the rest of the rest of the race. And now in P1, we have the legend himself, Marcel.
Yep.
Now, a lot of talk after quali that, oh dang, congratulations, Marcel, congrats for winning the championship. You're just too fast. You did mention also that you didn't really like Canada.
Nope.
So that may be a reason why you weren't as dominant in the race. But kind of take us through that race. Was it where was it that you thought, or were you, I guess, surprised more so by the pace of the guys around you? They were able to keep up.
Well, in qualifying, I expected it would be a little bit closer with some drivers. Like I didn't expect Freddy to be that fast. Like, props on Freddy. You had a pretty good pace in the race and also in qualifying. But yeah, I didn't do any race practice for this race because it's Canada and I hate fucking Canada. I only did some quali practice and that was it. But yeah, and also I put too much fuel into the car. Like I was like, if I'm in front and go away, I burn a lot of fuel and I need a lot of fuel. But yeah, that was not the case. I gained too much fuel, lost a lot of pace, and yeah, but still, P1, and I hope it gets better with those tracks.
So one thing is like, I think you, Fred, and Stelios particularly, and Nathan also, you guys were on two warnings for a huge amount of that race. Where how much did you have to pull back to try to not get that last track limit warning to get that 3 second penalty?
Yeah, after the second warning, the first one's pretty bullshit after a little slide, but yeah, it is what it is. I was like, focus, don't do any mistake. You can send it, but send it safely. And yeah, as I mentioned, me, Freddy, and Stelios were free car train. And when I saw Nathan at the start with those hard tires, I knew that either me or Freddy gonna be pulling that train away from Nathan with those medium tires at the end for him. But then I saw the gap and I was like, yeah, he's not gonna catch up with pure pace. And yeah, that's what happened. And yeah, my teammate almost fucked me. Uh, at the safety car pit stop, but yeah, still P1.
Yeah, we did see you get jumped by Stelios. Was that something to do with them? Was that
I
um
like, I like dropped my teammates, and I think it was Aston Martin. I think it was Matteo, who were
oh
almost lapped, and I went into the pits as well, and I got held by my teammate. That's
oh
why I
that's what it
got jumped
was.
by Stelios.
Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, Chubb Tucker was having a struggling that race, and then the safety car helped him regather up to P12. So nice recovery from your teammate, even though it almost screwed you. But all right, man. Well, congratulations on the win. How do you feel about? Or how are you feeling about Hungary? Have you done any Hungary on this game yet?
No, but this will be good because Moose Racing League is also
All
next
right.
week on Hungary, so it should be a little bit better than this race.
All right, man. Well, again, congratulations, dude, and have a good night.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, everyone. That wraps it up here in round one for Division One. With F124. So tomorrow night at the same time, 8 o'clock Eastern, we will have Division 2. It'll either be myself or Nathan Doan on the lead broadcast. We will see um, you guys tomorrow night, and we'll see you guys as we progress through this season. So have a good night, everyone.